Happy holding them while I sort of explain it?
Perfect. Am I holding it?
Yep, I'll show you how. So, come on over here. I'm gonna take one more step down, just because I got the camera on. So, yeah, you're good facing me here. You can face me, yeah, perfect. So what we wanna do, this particular type of focus pad, different ones have different handles, is you wanna reach through, loop this around and start making a fist, so that it grabs this little loop. Yeah.
With all my fingers?
Well, you might only fit 2 or 3, but you're making a fist nevertheless. Now let's say you only grab with those 2 and you left your finger there.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, relax, when I hit it, that even if it goes through the bag, you're gonna, loosen tendons, right? Or dislocate something or break something, we don't want that. So what we want is if I happen to collide with your fist, and it's very likely to be cushioned if I do, that's relative, that's the thing you're learning to hit with, just like me. So, very frequently, we take one from you. Very frequently what people do is they just kind of recklessly grab it kind of any old way and they just start hitting. And probably largely fine until somebody's got a little bit different range, a little bit too much excitement, a little bit less control, you're not quite ready, whatever. So this is really kind of putting me in a very safe place. And it also provides, because my fist is on this flat surface, it provides a pretty stable platform for your strike coming in at slightly different angles, whether purposefully or not. Whereas you can imagine if I was kind of holding it, like with a knife hand or something, then, the bag wants to spin. So I'm essentially holding it with a palm, although it's a fist, so the palm width. So that's a fairly sturdy platform. And then of course I'm looping through a couple of these. So for some people, this thumb will come through here, if that's how it fits. I like to get it around. I think that works the best. Kind of make sense? I'll let you try it too. And as with any other focus pad, we could say in a perfect world, you're responsible for holding it, right? And if your thumb gets broken when I'm hitting the bag, you held it wrong. But really, functionally, what makes the most sense is that I'm responsible for not hitting a bag that doesn't appear safe. So that means if the bag is really damaged or something, or obviously it's not safe because of how you're holding it, and even if you're holding it exactly correctly, but you're inattentive, you're looking at what Alan's doing or something, I shouldn't be the guy hitting it, right? Yeah, that's the idea, yeah. Yep.
I'm still above it.
Right, well, I'm not going to be recklessly trying to do that, but you're providing this stable surface. I should be aiming for the center, whatever the particular hits are, right?
But this is what I'm, 3 fingers to
2 or 3, whatever kind of fits neatly, yeah. And you can imagine if this thumb was kind of here, that's a little more reckless, right? There you go.
I can't get this further down.
Doesn't need to be, right? Like, we're not gonna set up a game in which that's what I'm trying to do. I'm aiming for the center. Right. Now, if you kind of curl in too much, it'll kind of drive your fist past the edge of the pad. So if I'm trying too much, I kind of pull. So I just have to have it, and I should be able to stay. Even if I don't have a full fist, you can have more of a leopard paw that's holding it, and you have that plumb
That's
surface.
what it feels like.
Right. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. So once you're holding the bag, we want to make sure that I take responsibility for not hitting until everything looks safe. Meaning how you're holding it literally, but like the grip, maybe we'd call it, how you're holding it in terms of your attention, and then the rest of your structure, right? So if the strike was for me to work on a jab, we wouldn't expect we'd ask Josh to hold it there. Because of course someday, that's kind of ridiculous. So Josh might prefer to hold it way over here. Yeah, that's right. And then I can work on, whatever the techniques are. The trouble is, let's hold it close, and I'm gonna hit it a little bit firmly, right? Take a step, okay? Like, that pretty much goes into your body, and your shoulder, probably your hips turn a little bit. It's really like that. However, when I do this, that same shock doesn't find its way into here very well. It finds its way into your elbow, right? Or perhaps your rotator cuff damage that you already had from tennis or whatever. Because I have this long lever arm, so all those forces are really gonna play out in your points of articulation, and probably depending on where you are weak, and you may be weak by trying to be strong. So you may be affecting strength, but that creates a weakness, because that firms something up and allows something else to deal with the forces. So we're not going to hold the bag very close, and that what very close is may depend on the type of strike I'm doing, right? So if this doesn't feel very close, but my setup is here, that might seem very close because the teacher asks us to do a back fist, in which case you put your left foot forward and turn the other, and we make sure your feet are happy, your knees, your posture, your attention's with me, the grip is good, the bag isn't overly damaged, you know, it might be worn, but it's working fine. And I don't feel like you're tightening up and holding your breath, and okay, hit it as hard as I can. What I want to do is be able to give you, you know, I'm working on my strikes, but from your point of view, I want you to be able to practice receiving energy, which should be in your body. So you're keeping your feet and your knees where you intend, but your body can be lubricated. So as I begin to hit harder and harder, you don't feel like the shock goes into your serratus, or it doesn't go into your pecs, it doesn't go into your rhombus. When I hit, because you have this fight, you want to feel like a high five kind of thing, like your body just goes with that. So what you are indeed practicing, besides holding the bag for me, you're practicing for the one day when this happens, and your body can take some, you don't want to, you'd love to abduct it, but someday you get hit, or kicked, or pushed, and your body is going with it, instead of having this set up, right? Let me firm up. So I'm gonna have you just, I'm not teaching you how to strike yet, just kind of swinging at it. Just use a palm, it's fine. Don't go for the strongest thing ever, right? Right, there you go. Watch what I'm doing, kind of like I'm ready to fight. What I want to feel is that I'm learning how to receive a shot. But this is a whole lot safer way of learning to take a shot than hit me in the head a bunch of times till I learn it. Right? So in a martial arts class, I might do this 50,000 times, right? But I'm constantly practicing getting hit, right? And this could be getting tackled, getting blocked really hard, and it doesn't have to be, you know, knocking my block off. So I'm practicing this. I might also be practicing receiving your energy to feed my own, right? Like you turn my hips, which is exactly what I want to be do, you know, if I'm counter striking. Does that kind of make sense? Okay. So I'm going to have you try that too. I'll have you hold it. And then once we go over this intro, then I'll teach you some hitting, you know. Yeah, there we go. So, good, take a stance. Good. And I'll just kind of slap a little bit. Right. First, normally I have my guard up and working on a specific strike. I'm just trying to add a little for it. And you should start to notice, like, did you kind of hold in here a little before you gave way? What wouldn't help me, of course, is if you try and guess when and start moving. That doesn't really do me any good either. If I'm striking just moderately, or you're far stronger in structure and experience than I, you might resist it a little bit, so I feel that bite before you know, let the dam open, right? But you don't need to do that. You need to pay attention to, did this add too much strain right here, or here, or here, or in here? And everybody's gonna be different, right? You may have prior issues. That felt a little tight in your elbow. Yeah. So ultimately you should end up feeling that you have a really good grip, a really good attention, and then this is just your hip that's receiving. So it's your body receiving. How's that feel? Right? Good. Very often I'll see people holding focus pads, and there's a whole lot of tightness, and every one of those shocks is just going into joints, which aren't made to take those kind of shocks. Do you know what I mean? My ankle can spring back a shock a little bit, right? But these don't want to be doing this. I'm creating these micro tears, right? Also, I'm creating a pattern of I'm about to get hit, tighten, you know, instead of, hey, if you're hitting me, I'm turning, and anytime I'm turning, I could be giving you something. Yeah? Okay. So try that now with on your left hand, So I'm going to just have you face each other. So we're not learning to hit yet. Good. So take a foot forward. Yeah, that's good. And just swing. Doesn't really matter. We're not going really hard, so you don't even have to make a shape with your hand at this point. So just give him a little, and then hold for him, and let him probably swinging back would make sense. So try it with your left foot forward. What you want to do with the bag, and this is one of the reasons I'm doing this. Okay, you hit Josh. One, Alan hits. Good. And you can pause for a moment to make sure everybody's set up. Right. If you had switched your feet,
Excuse me.
a little something there.
Yeah.
If you had switched your feet, right lead, and held this out, this arm in that stance is going to tend to reach less far than this, right? Which means holding this on the rear leg arm, you know, your left leg is rear, left arm, more likely that things swing are getting closer to you. So as a rule, you'd want this, like that's further from you. That also being that little bit further away can help you see his whole body, because generally if you're holding the bag for somebody, you're lifeguarding them and you're giving them coaching, like watch out for your knee, or keep your guard up, or hit harder, and that sort of thing. And if you're a little bit too close, it's a little bit too dangerous, which also means you're probably putting more energy on, am I safe? Do I need to flinch? And you can't quite see them as well as you'd like. So generally speaking, if I'm holding the bag in my right hand, I'll have my right foot forward and practice the turning. You could do it the other way, depends on what the strikes are. Okay, next part. If we're doing a downward strike, here, what's very easy for people to do is basically do a bicep curl and try and fight that energy. And what I'd rather do, now I'm going to have you switch feet, right lead, hold this a little bit to the side. What we want to do, if we draw a line from your fingers, wrist, elbow, we find your body on the other side, which means this isn't going to want to swing very far. So your hips are going to kick out to give it room, or more likely, as it starts to swing, you're going to fight to keep it there. So what I want to do is have you imagine a path so that this can swing like in Tai Chi, where it'll swing back. So that when I give it downward pressure, it's just your hip turning and the arm swinging. You notice I'm just doing very, very lightly. I'm not trying to show you how hard I can hit. I want you to be able to receive that with the body, right? So hitting vertically can be a whole different challenge than hitting more horizontally. Similarly, if he was holding like for an uppercut, it's a different challenge. People are going to want to use their triceps to keep it there on the up instead of receive like we've done in push hands, receive that energy. Now if I'm right here, I'm receiving it in a way that I have to lose my posture or lose my consciousness. So I want to set myself up so that I can receive that, right? So this is, like we did last week in class when we were holding the bag getting kicked, this is you practicing for taking a shock in that direction, trying to receive it in the body. And that shock could be as simple as if you're punching me, violently knocking something down, and you saying, well, instead of doing this, like, receive that with your hips, and then just do Three Stooges style. Just like find your way back, right? The original Tai Chi guys, right? Or the Three Stooges, right? So when it goes down, it's very easy for people to do this. And almost anybody can very easily hit down way harder than your bicep curl is gonna, and then we're maybe talking about torn muscles or tendons that stretch or strain or whatever. I don't know if they snap or not, but I imagine they can snap or come loose. Yeah. So.
They could pull a piece of bone off of it.
Yeah, exactly. Which is so I don't want to set myself up for that. And one of the reasons I'm talking so carefully around this, as soon as you put the red bag in front of somebody that has this much testosterone in them, they're a bull. And all they hear is hit harder, and he hit pretty hard. I'm gonna try and I'm feeling good. And so I just want to really encourage ourselves to understand, like, what I'm interested in doing is having you feel that this is a hip turn. Now, if your hips are turning, the knees should know where they are, and the posture shouldn't change. So what you were just doing is a little, like, yes, your hips turn, but they can't really turn that much. So know where your knee is, know where your posture is, lubricate the mind and the joint, you know, the hip and the shoulder, and then I'll move your arm. Yeah. Good. So let's try that. Squared with each other, so you can hit once or twice in a row, 3 times, whatever you want, and then offer the bag for him and switch. So switch feet. On this one, I'll tend to do it this way because your hips will be a little freer to turn that way. And yeah, you could do it both sides. This is a little harder for people to find that freedom than on their horizontal strengths.
Using a palm?
Doesn't matter now. All I'm interested in is he learns how to take any amount of force. Then I'll start focusing on, let me show you the strike I want to learn. You know what I mean?
Word?
Then we're not concerned with, is it safe for the person to hold the bag?
Do you just kind of let your head roll with it?
Yep.
Or?
No, if it's self-defense, I might let all of my body go, but I'm staying there because that's. But for now, I just want you to feel loose and relaxed, like roll with the punches. Right. Yep. So that looks like you're holding with the tricep a little and then releasing. Just try and float it there, and then when he turns it, everything goes. Yeah. Good. That's definitely better.